Hey guys, it's Brandy. Welcome to my channel where we talk about all things pregnancy related and all of the details of the sorts regarding that, because there's a lot of freaking details. In this video I'm going to talk about my experience with an anterior placenta. Of course this is my experience, like I said. It doesn't happen for everybody, so take that as you will. There's a lot of videos on YouTube regarding like anterior placentas, so if there's like a different experience or you were hoping for something else, like just keep looking, because I think I spent like 3 days watching these videos when I was waiting to feel my baby move for the first time. So I knew that I had an anterior placenta for my first 2 scans that were at 10 weeks and 12 weeks. The ultrasound technicians, they had to press really hard into my stomach to be able to see like the placenta and then the baby, because the placenta is like on the top, which is an anterior placenta. So it's like in the front of your stomach. There's nothing wrong with having an anterior placenta. It's like not bad or anything. It just can affect like you feeling the baby move. So at that time the technicians did say like, oh, I have to press really hard to see like through your placenta because it's on the front. And I was like, okay, no one labeled it as an anterior placenta. My doctor never said anything about it. There was no conversation had regarding that. I didn't even know like what it was called at that time. The only thing was obviously like looking at stuff online was like, you're supposed to feel, not supposed to, I don't want to say supposed to, but it's common or like the usual to feel the baby move for the first time if you're a first time mom, which I am. It's my first pregnancy. So between 16 and 20 weeks. So at 18 weeks, other ladies were feeling, you know, their babies move at that time based on like YouTube or the blogs that we follow or like the Facebook groups that we're in or like everything that we're doing. And you know, I didn't feel anything yet. I didn't even know like what I was supposed to be looking for. They say that it feels like gas bubbles or butterfly flutters, or some people describe it as like hunger pains, and no, I don't get that at all, that vibe. Anyways, so it was like at the end of 18 weeks, like we're talking like 18 weeks and 5 days or like 18 weeks and 6 days, that I felt like this bubble sensation that felt like it was in my vagina or like in my bladder. Like I literally thought there was a bubble of air moving around in my bladder. And I was like, I've never had a UTI, so I was like, I don't know if that's like a UTI or what's happening. I remember going to sleep like, that was weird. And so over the next couple days, like into 19 weeks, it started happening consistently. Anytime I laid on my left side at night, it would happen like maybe 5 or 6 times. And I was like, this is so consistent. This has to be her. It has to be. So, and I remember thinking like, oh, I think it's sort of a bubble of air. That might be where the gas bubble thing comparison comes from. I don't think you can be confused if you have gas or if the baby's moving. They just have to describe it some type of way. It does make sense, like it's in that area and it does feel like a bubble. But there's like no, I don't know with the whole gas description. So then at 19 weeks I was like, okay, that's her moving. I'm feeling her move. It was very low. Sometimes I could even feel it like in my rectum, to be honest. Like it was very low. And it was always sort of the same until I would say like 2 weeks. I started noticing like the flutter sensation. I think that's her moving a different type of way when we get that sensation, but it does feel like a flutter. Like it feels like okay. But that's what it feels like. And so at like 20 weeks, 21 weeks, I started feeling her move consistently while sitting. So while sitting at my desk at work, like if you've been still after you eat, like that's when I would feel it. And it was still very low at that time. And sometimes like, yeah, it would make me feel like I have to pee. Like that's how low it was. So at my 21 week anatomy scan, that doctor said like, oh, you have an anterior placenta. So by that time, I knew from looking at the YouTube videos and stuff like that, around 18 weeks, wondering why, like, or like, what is this supposed to feel like? There was lots of videos tagged with anterior placenta. And I was just like, don't know what that is. And basically I just did on YouTube all day anyways. So I watched a bunch of videos and they said, you know, your placenta's in the front. And I was like, mine's in the front, so I have an anterior placenta. And the doctor didn't say anything else about it. He didn't even mention like, oh, it could affect movements or anything like that. Because my movements were confirmed on that scan, because during that scan, the baby moved and I seen her move. So I knew like those are those little bumps. Like it just feels like someone's like boop, boop, bumping into you. And they do change, which I'll talk maybe about that in like my 3rd trimester symptoms video, is like movements change later in pregnancy because she's strong enough that she like will stretch my uterus like it's a muscle, and she will stretch it out. So it feels different than like the little boop, boop, boop along the way. The other thing that I wanted to mention to you guys in this video for the anterior placenta ladies is when starting kick counts, I have went to OB triage twice. The one time was like a couple days before, and I wasn't even really doing a kick count. I was like 27 weeks and like 6 days or something. And she didn't move for 3.5 hours. And I tried the usual things, drinking juice, eating chocolate, you know, walking around, changing position, that sort of thing, and she just didn't move. So I went to OB triage. They said everything was fine. We did like the non-stress test. Her heart rate was good. She started moving around while I was on the monitors. I guess she was just taking a long nap. But as soon as I went there, and they ask you when you have like decreased fetal movement, they say, oh, do you have an anterior placenta? And I'm gonna say yes, because I do. But then they just said like, oh, that's why you're not feeling her move. And I was like, no, ma'am, no. Because I have to advocate for myself and her, and I'm the only one that can know her routine and what she's doing and like have that bond with her. And I know that this is different than what normally happens on a day-to-day basis, so I just need it to be taken seriously. So that's really important, and I wanted to make sure that ladies knew that. Like, you have to advocate for yourself and the baby if you have an anterior placenta and they're just trying to rule it out. Like, oh, you didn't get your counts on your kick count because you have an anterior placenta. If you know in your heart, like, your baby's rhythm, what's normal, because we do, like, we spend 24/7 with this little baby, and like, we know everything. Like, if you eat this, you're gonna know if she's usually moving. So you need to advocate for yourself if that happens. And, you know, they did ask the second time that I went. She got 9 out of 10 within 2 hours. And I went because I know myself, when they're saying like you need to get 10 or you need to come in. I'm going to go in even though it was 9, because I'm not just going to sit on the couch. If there's something wrong, like, I'm going to try and fix it. I'm going to try and do the best that I can to pay attention to that stuff and do everything that I'm supposed to. And like, yes, she was fine and I was relieved. And I wouldn't have felt relieved if I just like sat on the couch and did nothing. So I felt relieved, just made sure everything was good. And I did have to advocate for myself at that time again by saying, this is different. It usually, you know, happens a lot sooner than 2 hours. So I just want, and I ate during that period as well to try to speed things up. So this is different for me and you need to listen to me. So yeah, so that's been my experience with an anterior placenta. The other thing that I wanted to mention was like my husband could feel the movements on the outside around 25 weeks for the first time. It was like, it probably could have happened sooner than that, just like the timing that he was feeling, and like, it all depends. Like, if there's not the normal strong movements that you normally feel and she's just like maybe moving around in her sleep or something, then it's gonna be harder. And like, I'm a plus size person, so there's a layer of fat on my stomach, and it hasn't changed anything. We feel her very strongly, and it's like the most amazing thing in the world to feel your baby move like that. So that's what I wanted to mention. I think that covers everything. So if you have any questions about like the kick counts or like my experience with advocating for myself, even with like when they say, oh, you have an anterior placenta and it affects movements, leave like comments down below and I will get back to you. Besides that, I wish everybody the best and healthy pregnancies out there, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.